So I'm the proud product of the public school system, but schools these days and teachers these days, well, they aren't what they used to be. Educators have always tended to lean to the left. That was the case even in my very conservative and very red home state of South Dakota. But what we are experiencing in so-called education today ain't leaning to the left. It's full-blown activism, gay sex ed, and liberal lunacy passed off as education. And here's just another example out of Colorado Springs, Colorado. A 12-year-old boy plucked out of his classroom and sent to the office for what? For having a "Don't Tread on Me" Gadsden flag patch on his backpack. Watch.
Do they know what the Gadsden flag is? That it's a historical flag?
So the reason that they do not want the flag, the reason we do not want the flag displayed is due to its origins with
The Revolutionary
slavery and slave trade.
What's going to happen if he doesn't take it off?
He is able to go. I was actually just telling him, like, I was upset that he was missing so much school. I'm like, so I asked if can he just take his stuff out of his bag and go back to class. Like, I just want him to go back to class. The bag can't go back. It's got the patch on it because we can't have that in and around other kids.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with slavery. That's like the Revolutionary War patch that was displayed when they were fighting the British. Yeah, and we teach him to always stick up for your beliefs. And you're going over the Revolution for 7th grade. The founding fathers stood up for what they believed in against unjust laws. This is unjust.
Yes, these are the kind of morons educating your kids. These idiots pull the boy away from academic learning to reprimand him using lies as the basis of their BS. The Gadsden flag does not represent slavery or the slave trade or racism, you imbeciles. The Gadsden flag served as a warning to Britain not to violate the liberties of its American subjects. So riddle me how a flag designed to symbolize the fight for liberty is connected to the frickin' slave trade. You know who should be pulled out of the classroom? These Nimrod educators who don't know basic American history. The staff members claimed this little boy's backpack patch was a disruption and might offend other children, but we all know that's a load of horse crap. But this kid is such a boss, he proved his point with this photo showing a staff member's decorated commie wagon in the parking lot. Oh, gotta love it. But we all know these liberal loser staff members wanted to punish the kid because that "Don't Tread on Me" flag has become a rallying symbol for conservative Americans who want the government to leave us the hell alone. They were punishing a conservative kid. That's what this amounts to. It's important to note the Vanguard School is a charter school. So is this what we've come to? The point where homeschooling or classical Christian schools are the only option for parents who don't want to send their kids to these liberal commie camps? You know, it's a damn shame. But in a move I assume was brought on by wall-to-wall internet backlash, the Vanguard School has decided to let the boy keep his patch. Wow, how generous. Joining me now with his reaction to that story and more viral moments of the week is cultural commentator and writer for Rebel News, Ian Miles Chung. So Ian, that video of that little boy getting called to the office over his little "Don't Tread on Me" Gadsden flag patch obviously lit up the internet yesterday. I saw that you posted it. It was really a viral video. But I have to wonder, if nobody captured that on camera,
Yes,
I wonder if that Vanguard School would have reversed course. I wonder if they hadn't been blasted on social media, if they would have continued to punish this poor kid, and how many other kids that have anything somewhat patriotic, any kind of patriotic paraphernalia on their person or items. I wonder how many kids in the United States today and around the world are being treated like this by our educators. It's really something, isn't it?
It really is. And I think countless children right now are being treated this way. There's no cameras in the room in most of these cases, so we just don't know. We might hear about it on social media. Maybe a parent complains about it. Maybe the kid takes to Discord or X, as Twitter's now called, to complain about it. But in general, a lot of this stuff just goes unheard. And I think we are fortunate, that child is very fortunate that there was a camera in the room at that point and that they were able to make a case out of it. And now keep in mind, this case isn't over, right? All it takes is one complaint from one other parent or one other child in the room. And, he's going to be facing suspension again, potentially.
That's what's so wild to me is, that's not That shouldn't be a divisive symbol. I could even understand if it was a Confederate flag or something like that, but simply having that flag, I mean, that's rooted in American history, and it's also rooted in liberty. I mean, that's fighting for liberty for all Americans. So to me, it feels like not only are these educators obviously coming down on what has become a conservative symbol, but also they just don't know basic American history, and I'm a little concerned about the education system in America. It's become far more like indoctrination. I'm wondering what you're seeing from where you are outside of the U.S. Is this a global problem?
It is a global problem. I mean, so that symbol, right now, it's being used in Argentina to represent the libertarian and liberty movement over there. There's potentially a presidential candidate who may win, and he uses that symbol. So, I mean, this symbol is global. Everybody knows it. Everybody recognizes it. It's not a symbol of hate. It is not a symbol of racism or anything they like to call it. But somehow the concept of liberty has become synonymous with problematic because, it says here, don't tread on me. I mean, you'd think that anybody would be able to stand behind that statement, but no, they want to tread on you, and they will. So what I'm seeing worldwide right now is this global effort to trample on the rights and freedoms of literally anybody. And, it's heartening that, this one child was able to ignite a conversation. And more than that, perhaps more children right now. I saw some parents on social media talking about how they're buying patches for their kids to wear to school. And it's like, okay, that's cool. Some people might say, don't use your kid as a political prop. But I say, you know what? It stands for freedom. It's not about politics. It's about defending your right to exist.
And let's not forget, there are some people that are also triggered by the American flag who live in ... America. So nothing surprises me anymore. But I'm going to tell you what is acceptable. Teaching all this gender ideology in schools. Now, this is an example out of Canada. I mean, Canada is far worse than the U.S., if you can believe it. But we've got this teacher who was this Zcup trans teacher. We have a photo of this lovely lady. But I know you've seen this person. Apparently, this Zcup trans teacher got a new job, and there are some parents in Canada that are pretty fired up about it. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on him, her, they, them, and the fact that that is acceptable in a classroom.
I think that the schools are simply afraid of all the pronoun brigade havers, right? The people with pronouns in their bios, they are socially terrorists, essentially, right? They have special protections that enable them to essentially do whatever they want. And in more, often in these cases, it's not like this person is confused about their gender, that they're exploring it. No, they simply want to exploit the system. This is what they're there for. It's the same reason why 50% of men in, transgender men in prisons in Wisconsin, for example, are convicted felons who are in there for sex assault charges, rape charges. I mean, there's a reason they want to be put in women's prisons by identifying as women so they can keep doing what they do. I mean, there's nothing honest about this. It's simply a way for them to, find some victim card, to play that victim card and receive special privileges from a society that is so weakened right now by liberalism, by wokeism, by this whole idea, this whole notion that tolerance is the highest virtue. In my opinion, and I think this should be the opinion of every reasonable person, truth is the highest virtue, not tolerance. Tolerance is simply the ability to tolerate this evil that we now see in society, and it's all across the world.
Would somebody like this, like a Zcup trans teacher that's walking around with these giant fake breasts and probably pushing some kind of gender ideology, would that be welcome in somewhere like Malaysia? I'm sure there's many places around the world where it wouldn't be. Tell me how the reaction would be from students and parents and educators if this were a thing where you were.
I think it would be shocking. I mean, it's not like transgender people aren't here. They do exist, but they generally just keep to themselves. But the last time a transgender person tried to become an influencer, I believe it was on Instagram, there was a severe backlash. People were sending them threats. And now I don't endorse the threats, but, it wouldn't be welcome. Let's put it that way. The parents would want to have words with them. More than words, perhaps. Teachers, the students would pick on them. It's just not normal. And I think it's about time the whole world sees this. I mean, it's like we are told to question what we see. It's like, what is 2 + 2? Well, it's 4, but they're telling us it's 5. They're telling us it's 6. And that, if we say 4, then we're bigots. And I disagree with that. It's like some things, men and women are two completely separate genders. I mean, there's no two ways about it. This idea that there's multiple genders besides man and woman, the idea that you can pretend to be somebody that you're not, I mean, it's delusional, and we should stop feeding it.
I agree. We have to stop coddling the madness, because when you coddle it, you allow it to metastasize and you allow it to become the norm. And I think that something that you said was very interesting, that there are trans people around the world, right? I don't have an issue with it.
Yes.
Do what you want. But in other countries, in other places, they live their lives, they keep to themselves. They aren't demanding spotlight. Here in the US and in other places in Canada, they're demanding spotlight. And that's where I think that it really rubs people the wrong way, especially when you have people like a Dylan Mulvaney who is trying to impersonate a woman by mocking women. It doesn't sit well with us. But the next thing I want to turn to is somebody who actually has biology and part of their commandments for running for president, and that's Vivek Ramaswamy. Now, I saw that you posted, and I found this very interesting. I'm going to play the clip. But it turns out that Vivek was very concerned back in, I believe it was 2004, about Reverend Al Sharpton having the qualifications to run for a Democratic nominee position. Let's take a look at that clip, and then let's discuss.
Question here, go ahead. Reverend Sharpton, hello, I'm Vivek, and I want to ask you, last week on the show we had Senator Kerry, and this week, and the week before we had Senator Edwards, and my question for you is, of all the Democratic candidates out there, why should I vote for the one with the least political experience?
Well, you shouldn't, because I have the most political experience.
So, first of all, I'd like to say right off the bat, I like his hair better like that. I think he should return to that hairstyle. But beyond that, what's interesting is also on that college hardball MSNBC tour was one Pete Buttigieg. So I know that you posted it. How can this possibly happen? I mean, something seems a little odd. What do you think of it?
I mean, Elon Musk might say fate loves irony, but I don't know. I mean, it's worth asking, why were they there? And it's like, you have these luminaries, like Pete Buttigieg is a luminary, so is Vivek, and they were both there at this event at MSNBC. And, you know, there's a lot of people on my timeline who are saying, are they Democratic plants? I mean, I personally don't think so, but it's an interesting coincidence that this is the case, right? That they are both there. Maybe fate does love irony. Who knows? That could literally just be the case.
What is your take on Vivek? Because, you know, for me, it's evolved over time. When he first started, you know, his campaign, I thought this is somebody that's very intelligent, obviously built businesses, somebody that I love having in the Republican fold, because I think that he speaks about important concepts and he speaks about them very eloquently. But as we've moved on, you know, he's been caught several times kind of flip-flopping on certain things, and he's been caught doing it by not only conservative hosts, but liberal hosts, by social media. The internet never forgets. So it does kind of come off to me like he's either trying to play to the hits, or maybe he doesn't have the ideological framework that we think he has. What's your take on him? Is he genuine?
I don't think he's entirely genuine. I do believe he believes he's genuine, but there are often times when he says things that simply contradict a statement that he made 2 months ago, 2 weeks ago, in a book that he had written. For instance, he condemned President Trump in his book, and now he's singing his praises, which is very interesting. He's clearly trying to court the audience, the MAGA audience, right? Just in case Trump is unable to run. I think that's what his game plan is. I mean, it's smart, but as you said, the internet doesn't forget. And with regard to some of his proposals, they just don't seem realistic, right? Like, he wants to turn Russia against China and for America to become best buddies with Russia. I mean, that seems fine, I guess. But if you're Russia, would you trust that? I mean, how can you make a promise like that? How can you make, the effort to say that I'm going to do X, Y, and Z when there's literally no way that this is even going to happen? It's like saying, I'm going to ban all drugs. I'm going to end crime. I'm going to end prostitution. It's not going to exist under my rule, but it is, though. Like, you can't stop these things. I mean, you can try to mitigate it. So the kind of promises that he's making right now, they seem a bit hollow, right? It's like, oh yeah, that sounds good on paper, but how is it going to be done? And again, as you mentioned, he doesn't have political experience. He doesn't have the any track record that I know of that that delivers. Like, for instance, with DeSantis, there's delivery there. With Trump, there is some delivery there. But with Vivek, his own company, his pharmaceutical company, bought a drug and it was a failure. And a lot of people lost their money. I don't know, if he knew that drug was going to be a failure. But I mean, the track record doesn't look too good from where I'm sitting,
Yeah, and also, as you were talking, what it reminded me of is, when you're in the younger grades in school and you're running to be class president or something, and you tell your fellow classmates that if you're elected to be class president, that you're going to get them Oreos every day for lunch and ice cream machines in the hallways, and it sounds really good, even though it's never going to happen. That is Vivek to me in a nutshell.
Yes.
Says some good things, but are they deliverable? I'm not sure. Last thing I want to ask you, because I'm really interested in your international perspective. What does the world think of Donald Trump's fourth indictment and now his mugshot? Because here in the U.S., people are very divided. People either love or hate the mugshot, either love or hate Donald Trump. But when the world sees that mugshot from a former president of the United States of America, what's their reaction?
I think they see a banana republic that's weaponizing its political system, its legal system, to go after a former president that is simply unfriendly to the existing administration. That's what they see. They see injustice. Whether or not he deserves that indictment, I don't think it really matters, because the optics right now is that it's a banana republic. I mean, you might expect this from a third world country, someplace in Africa, perhaps, or South America, where they will randomly indict a former president and throw them in jail, or threaten to throw them in jail so that they can't run. We're seeing that in Pakistan, for example, with Imran Khan, where they are levying, political persecutions or prosecution against the man, preventing him from running for office. So we're seeing the same thing right now internationally. When we look at what's happening to Donald Trump, it doesn't seem fair, because, I mean, whether or not he was right to make the claims he made about, the stolen election or whatever, I mean, that is besides the point. What matters right now is that it seems that conservatives are very much under attack by the establishment, and that doesn't seem like it's going to stop anytime soon.
Yeah, I agree. And again, I think that we're so divided in this country because half of the country believes that Trump could do no wrong, even if he did something wrong, and the other half believes that he does wrong when he wakes up and takes his first breath. So we're in a weird spot, but I appreciate your perspective on all of this. I'll keep following you on Twitter. I love the viral videos you post and your insight. Thanks so much for being with me, Ian.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.